Okay, welcome back to the second day of the computer science Ophase. We have an exciting program today for you again. We'll start off with a presentation by Tim, who you already know, about TuCAN, or as we like to call it, TuCAN. You'll see why in a moment. Then we'll present some of the IT systems we have here at the university, and the last slot before the lunch we invited multiple professors from different subjects who will present a bit about their work and which courses you might be interested in taking. And with that being said, I'd like to hand it over to Tim, and have a nice day.
Yeah. Morning. Hope you slept well. Actually, I don't care, because you're here and you have to listen now to my talk. No slides. Can we? Might make sense to see something, but just imagine TuCAN. No. All right. So it's not solely about TuCAN. It will be the most important part. But I'm going to show you the two different Moodle systems, explaining the difference as well. I won't dive deep into the Moodle systems. You're all enrolled in master degrees, so therefore you should be capable to get around with the Moodle system. Hopefully. If not, interesting choice to study computer science. So, anyways, let's start with the easier part and the shortest part, the Moodle systems. One might think that we have one Moodle system for courses out of university, which is not true, because we have two. There's one offered by the HRZ, the central facility for IT systems and whatsoever, mainly used by other departments as well. And of course, we do have our own Moodle system. As our students council, most of our students call it the Better Moodle. Why? Because my colleague in the student advisory service is researching on things related to online learning, didactics, and whatsoever. So he's also implementing a lot of extra add-ons, making the computer science Moodle way more powerful. But you will have to have an eye on in which Moodle course is the data located you're searching for. Essentially, Google Moodle, Informatik, TU Darmstadt, or Moodle, TU Darmstadt, or whatever, and you will easily reach the entrance sites. You always need your TU ID to log in. So account activation is crucial, also for entering TuCAN, registering modules, courses, exams at some point and whatsoever. If you don't have your credentials ready steady by now, not that big of an issue. You need to get in touch with fellow students then, gather the data, information on your own until you have your IDs, and then you can register later. The most crucial deadline would be the end of the exam registration period. And that might differ in between departments or actually some courses, modules. If they have parallel to the semester achievements to be conducted, then the exam registration is earlier. So always figure out when you have to register for which course module via the departmental websites, the group's websites, the first week of lectures or whatsoever. There are slight differences. So that's essentially ta-da! It's the start of the Moodle system. That's not really nice to see. So about that, you can just start, and then you can see several information, how to get around in Moodle and whatsoever, but also in the central Moodle systems from time to time offers for students, like how to write a thesis from the Schreibcenter, or other advisory possibilities, extracurricular activities or something like that. So from time to time it makes sense to just log in and see is there new information or whatever. And then, as usual, you can just flip to some kind of course catalog within the semesters, the departments, the different areas, and so on. Yeah, searching, and eventually you will find the right course to register to. Sometimes you need credentials specifically for a course to register that should be provided in the first weeks of lectures, right? There's one exception, though. Flip in to the course schedule in TuCAN, which you can access without login with your TU ID. And if you encounter in the course description any part, if there is more than one course for the same module, something like online offerings, Moodle, then you have to take action because you have to register to an exercise group or something similar in TuCAN. And you will then be automatically added to the central Moodle course in the central Moodle system. You can't log in on your own, and they're doing that in batches from time to time, and at some point they will stop adding new students. In that case, you have to get in touch with the lecturers or the academic staff members organizing the lecture in order to get into the Moodle course, right? So have an eye on online offerings, Moodle. Then you definitely have to register to even though there might not be an exercise actually, you still have to register to the exercise groups. Alrighty, right. Otherwise, just search on your own. So, one specific for the computer science Moodle. One might think that you have to enter your credentials there. It's definitely the login with TU ID. As it's a single sign-on system, and I'm already enrolled now in the central Moodle, I don't have to put my credentials again. And same essentially here. There's a landing page. You can enter. The dashboard is, of course, the overview of your last accessed courses and whatever. And then you can just scroll down. A lot of information, which makes sense because it's the better Moodle system. And here you will find a similar overview of the different semesters and whatsoever. If you're not sure about the content or the LOI of a course, a language of instruction, probably have an eye on the Moodle systems whether you can register to the course offered the year before. And you will find most likely slides or recordings, probably some more information about the exam appointments, how they work, or a written exam, for example, if there's a translated exam, or was at least the last year. it should somewhat be similar to the previous year. Of course, they can change everything on their own, but computer scientists, not solely, but as well, are a bit lazy. So if something works out, why should we change it, right? Never touch a running system. So it's quite likely that it will be offered in a similar way than the year after. Any specific questions to a Moodle system? All righty, right. I didn't assume as much. Now, TuCAN. Let's see, is it working out? Hoo-hoo. Last year, everything died when I switched to the remote backend. Theoretical University of Darmstadt. So that's actually a test system, should look almost exactly the same as the productive system of TuCAN. Probably even a bit slower. Makes it really interesting. So I personally favor to think about using TuCAN as some kind of meditation. So if you register to something, or if you apply for another master program, want to switch, and it takes a bit longer, go fetch a coffee, have a cigarette, enjoy life a bit. It might take ages, specifically when all students are accessing the system at the same time. And I do have some assumptions, but I won't tell them loudly in the orientation days. And I'm a theoretical computer scientist, but even my heart is bleeding with this system. So I grabbed just one random student from one program, the computer science, because there's a specific I want to show. Besides, all the areas are the same, and the process to register is completely equivalent, right? So, oh yeah, damn it. Oh, there's a timeout of 30 minutes, which sometimes is activated even though you're waiting for the feedback of the system. So, this is Mr. or Mrs. Test, I don't remember. There's unfortunately one area in services I'm not able to show you because the only thing I can't change in the test systems is the matriculation number, which is actually the only unique identifier, which is a bit unfortunate because all my test students are born in Vatikanstadt, and citizens of Vatikanstadt and whatever, interesting postal numbers and so on. But anyway, you can look that up in the internet. All right, so as I said, so my TuCAN, your messages. You will receive a lot of TuCAN messages. A lot, most likely. Several of them not important for you at all, but some may. So therefore, have an eye on the messages, right? Just figure out some kind of process at the beginning of each term, throughout the examination registration period, to have an eye on the same in case something happens, because we're touching management law, actually, with university law, exclusion deadlines and whatsoever. So if you miss something, it's your fault and your issue, essentially, right? Keep up to date. All right, then. There is something called schedule. My personal recommendation, not mine alone, is don't use this schedule. Create something on paper, with your own app, whatsoever. Because just as an example, if there's more than one exercise group, all appointments are popping up there. Not solely the one you registered for. So if you have a few of those courses, it's just overcrowded, you won't see anything anyways. It is not always 100% reliable. Also, you will get more information, like we skip the lecture next week and it will be still in your schedule, and. So some students are tending to use that. Usually they struggle a bit and are arguing a lot. So I would recommend to use your own system. And therefore, forget about the schedule. So then, probably the most important part for today, courses. Short explanation, what are Moodle modules and courses, elective subjects, registration, whatsoever. Okay, so my modules, this student has not registered to any modules. I can't show you any registrations at the moment. It's a computer science student. Why have I chosen a computer science, so the English taught computer science program? So essentially for all students, the most important part to register to modules and courses is to steer into registration. Then you will find some kind of structure. Alrighty, right. For each and every study program, you will identify further courses and additional courses. Additional courses are courses you want to take, but not counting towards your degree. Really additional courses. And legally, it's not allowed officially, if you register in the wrong way, to shift them from additional courses into the counting areas. Because then you could essentially take all courses and just select the best graded ones at the end. And that's the forbidden part. So, make sure that you register in the right way. And that includes not registering to anything via the course search in the course schedule. Not at all. Why? Because we're a nice department, we're offering all our courses to all students of the university. So therefore, in each study program, there are at least 2 possibilities to register the course for in additional courses and within your degree. And if TuCAN has to decide to which area it should add it to, it will use the least harmful one, which is always additional courses, because you don't have to pass them, they're not counting towards your degree, and whatever. Don't register to anything via the course search. Search for it and then steer into this area, the registration part. If you registered in the right area, and now the funny part, after you registered it, you're not able to check whether you registered in the right way. The first time you can cross-check that is if the results are out. Yay! We're making it a bit more fun to study here with our management system. Make sure that you follow the right path, cross-check it on your own while registering, and probably just take pictures. And that might sound like a stupid recommendation, and it hasn't happened since years, but at the beginning and medium time of introducing this management system, registrations just disappeared. Whysoever. And the only chance for students to get a registration accepted afterwards without the one-time joker for a belated registration, I'll get back to that shortly, was actually to provide some kind of proof, like a screenshot or something. As I said, hasn't happened in years, yet we never know. So make sure that you're registered. Usually it is logged in the back end, and. All right, so further courses, no clue. Really, since the introduction of the system, I have no idea what further courses should be. And no one was able to explain it to me as well. It's just like, it seems like the same, but there is nothing included, nothing has ever been published there or offered or whatever. I don't know, really. If something pops up in further courses in one of your accounts, let me know. Okay, remedial coursework, imposed conditions, Auflagen. I explained that yesterday already. It's probably anyways the best idea to get them registered via our examination office. But if you see one of your imposed conditions to be done in this area, the module and whatsoever, it's exactly the same registration process, right? But also don't register to modules from the first year of our bachelor's degree, because then you would have to achieve the allowance for participating in the exam. Next area, the thesis, Masterarbeit. Perfectly translated, as you will encounter several times in TuCAN for the solidly English-speaking students. Sometimes there is just no translation at some point, so everything's translated and then Masterarbeit. We're not responsible, we can't interfere, not our concern. Anyways, the best problem is an SCP. So if you have a problem, make it an SCP and somebody else's problem. Best problems. All right, so essentially, probably remedial coursework. You can't register the master thesis on your own anyways, so forget about that. you have to submit a registration form when you register for master thesis where the professor has signed. There's a date on it and the working title, and the examination office is going to enter that for you individually in TuCAN anyways. So okay, further courses, forget about it. Master thesis, forget about it. Additional courses, if you're not interested to take really additional courses, forget about it. Remedial coursework, probably. Now, the most important part. Elective area, specializations, general education, and so on. Let's start with the specialization, and that's the specific for this degree at least. You steer into that's the tree structure of your degree, essentially what you will see here. Those are the core catalogs available in all our master's degree, essentially besides autonomous systems, robotics, and so on, software and hardware and theory. But let's head back. Specializations. But I want to study distributed computing or, I don't know, data science engineering. But there's nothing to register. This question pops up several times in the first week of lectures each winter and summer term from master students. Well, and that holds true for several degrees we offer and other departments are offering. First of all, steer into the elective subjects, and then you have to choose something. Choose something. Now back to registration, and it's always starting at the beginning. I'm in a, cool, the specialization. Cool, okay, so and here you will find some more possibilities now to register for. And why there are these interim areas, I don't know. All right, so we reached an area. Perfect, totally easy. Now, let's say you want to register to efficient graph algorithms. Yes, I want to register to this module, please. Yeah, sure, I just said it, yeah, I want to register to this module. No, really, I'm sure. I really want to register to this module. Cool, now I'm registered, right? You might think so. Oh, look, there's another link for registration popping up now. Okay, yeah, okay, of course, makes sense. Module course, well, I want to register to the course as well. Yes, I'm really sure. I want to register to this course as well. Come on. So, now you're registered to the module in the course, and there may be more than one course in a module. And for each registration, 3 clicks, depending on the speed of TuCAN at the moment, it might take a bit. And you probably don't want to take only one course per semester, so prepare for clicking a lot. And you're not even done yet, because that's the module in course registration. You still have to register the exam at some point. Short hint, the exam, for most of the courses, the exam registration period starts on November 1st, ends before the winter break in our department. And from November 3rd to November 7th, there will be a TuCAN downtime. So have an eye on downtimes as well. Sometimes they happen quite at the end of an exclusion deadline. Try to register in due time and probably a bit earlier, because you can always deregister later on your own, as long as the exam has not happened or the achievements. And if you don't use the schedule, your own schedule won't be overcrowded. So register in due time, always at the beginning, just in case something happens, right? And then examinations. My examinations. Makes complete sense. On the right side, exams offered for registrations. Also another question, but I can't see anything, or whatever. As you can see, nothing to register. On the right side, somewhat. You will then find a registration link as well, when the registration period for this specific module has started, right? So just, yeah, I'd say get in touch with our systems and just figure out some repeating process to look up all the websites and information to not miss any deadline or whatsoever. Also interesting, the performance record is your own overview. It's not the official transcript of our department or the university. If you need the same, you need to request it via the Studienbüro, examination office. We can generate that, and then in service, my documents, a PDF will pop up, right? Done in no time, so that's fine. This one is just for you to cross-check something is probably. And TuCAN has another nice feature. It's mixing semantics. You will encounter two total credit sums, for example, and none of them is really helpful for you, because the one is just every credit you've taken, regardless of the area and whatsoever. Also additional courses, remedial coursework, and so on and so forth. Not really helping much, besides probably providing information how much workload you have covered officially in your time being here. The other one, that's actually the sum of credits counting towards your degree, but past, not past graded courses offered by the departments or via transfer, for example, are not included. So actually, it's everything that counts towards your degree and has a grade on it. Also not really helpful. But that's the best you can get via this document, actually. And the semester results are somewhat a bit very strange from point of view of someone who has access to the back end and a bit of knowledge in the examination, regulation rules, and so on. We just had that at the beginning of the orientation days. A student dropped by, asked me, can you have a look at my TuCAN account? So we looked up the back end. Everything was fine. He deregistered from an exam. In due time, in the performance record, it was not showing up perfect, right? So in TuCAN in the backend, everything was, yeah, okay, successfully deregistered and whatsoever. In the semester results, still a 5.0. And we have no idea why. So that's something, you will see your results for the exam sometimes a bit earlier there. It makes sense to look up this area, this section. But don't give too much if there's a 5.0 if you deregistered in time. Apparently, everything the examiners are publishing is visible there, even though it doesn't count for you. All right. The application area. There was a question yesterday how to switch study programs, probably. That's the part where you have to have an eye on. Check the right checkboxes, like, yes, I'm already enrolled, that's really important. If you want to take up multiple studies, I want to stay enrolled in my current program and take up another one, or I really want to switch, right? Because if you just want to take up a second master degree, but you just clicked something wrong and you will be switched from one to the other, it might make a delay in your duration of studies. Another really important thing here is the service. The personal data, unfortunately, I'm not allowed to show, but, for example, within this area of the documents, you will see certifications you probably need for the Ausländerbehörde, for scholarships, or whatsoever, BAföG. But you can also see your application documents for internal switching of programs or taking up more than one program. And in the documents, you will also find the transcript of records, the official ones, after generating the same by our Dean's office. And some of the things you can request are listed here, not all of them possible to request via an online application for the same. But what you can see, and that's another reason why I've chosen this student, this is the RMU study program I was talking about yesterday shortly, I think. I'm getting old, I don't memorize that much anymore. And here you can request to be as an external student, but also a re-enrollment if you're already enrolled in the RMU study program, right? But also to change your name, your address, the deregistration. So that's actually an exmatriculation. And the semantic here is, I want to leave the university. So if you're enrolled in more than one program in parallel and you want to leave one of the programs, don't use this. Definitely don't use deregistration here. The result will be, yeah, well, see you then, right? You're not enrolled at TU Darmstadt anymore. Clarify the deregistration from one single program in the Studierendenservice in the Caro 5 directly. You can request semester on leave, under specific circumstances, and so on. So that's TuCAN essentially, so your point of view, the front end. The back end is even worse, believe me. And the most important part is really to register everything in due time in the right way, to not miss one of the registration parts. It's really frustrating if you think that you registered to everything but forgot the exam registration, or if you think that you actually deregistered from everything but you forgot the module and then it's not disappearing the next years and. Your overviews will be more crowded over time then. It is possible to get around with the system in a good way, I assume. I mean, I have access to the backend. I can do way more things than you. So therefore, I figured out my ways. If you need quick help, you can almost ask any fellow student running around here who has a bit of experience in our university. Every student knows about TuCAN and the drawbacks and the solutions most likely as well. All right, any questions to exam, course, module registration, Moodle systems, or whatsoever? So that actually means I explained everything perfectly. All right, the question is if you register to something but the registration is pending. Usually that is based on the situation that the course is restricted in number of participants, seminars, labs, some smaller lectures, if they need hardware, for example, or something like that. Or if there's another formal reason for the same, because your status is yet not completely verified or something like that. Depending on the reason, you have to probably get in touch with different facilities or people. If it's about the formal conditions, either the examination office here, when it's about our department, the content part of your studies, if it's about missing documents or whatever, central facilities, right? Department, always responsible for content-specific things. Everything else usually done in the central facilities. You should definitely have an eye on the websites of the group offering the course, because you will most likely find if it's restricted in number of participants, if there's a specific kick-off meeting required, more information there. If it's a language course, just a sec. If it's a language course, the language courses are restricted in number of participants, and what they do is drawing straws. So that means you don't know yet whether you can follow this course, and at some point you will either get a yes or no. Spanish? German? Ah, yeah, German for beginners. So A2, B1, something like that. Have you done the qualification test, or they adjusted you to this area? Ah, done. Then there's nothing to be done besides waiting, probably. All right. Okay, the question is about general education, whether you can pick any course. Well, you can pick any course offered by the other department and facilities for all students. So essentially everything you can register in the right way, like courses, registrations, shouldn't take much time. Elective, general education. Oh, Why are there 3 subsections anyways? Because in different programs we define different rules about the minima, maxima credits and whatever. And in the German taught program, Master Computer Science, for example, you have to cover a minimum of 3 credits offered by the departments Law and Economics, Humanities or Social Sciences. So let's steer into this one. As I said, the department, Law and Economics, Social Sciences, Humanities, and something called Interdisciplinary Study Program, Sustainable Futures, whatever. Might be of interest, a mixture of different departments, focusing on specific topics and whatever. Probably a bit more interesting for some of you. But let's just steer into the law and business thingies. And then you will find the course you can register for. Everything you can register in a semester in those areas will count after finalizing it in those areas as well. But it's a decision of the other departments which courses to offer. So therefore, everything you can see there can be done, hopefully, if there wasn't a mistake or something else. Everything else, not really. All right, other questions? There was a... All right, so there was a question about the specializations. We only have specializations in the common sense in the computer science master English taught. You can choose exactly one of them. And you can switch the same only once as soon as you have taken at least one achievement in your chosen specialization. You can't mix them. That's really not possible. If you want to mix content, for example, you're interested in distributed computing specialization in CS Masters, but you want to focus more on AI/ML, for example, then you could enroll in the German taught master program Informatik or the AI/ML program additionally. But you should figure out in advance how big is the overlap, what's the extra competence I'm going to gather, does it really make sense? When it's more about 1 or 2 single subjects you want to add, probably go for additional courses, and then apply for a job and tell them, wait, look, I studied a bit longer, but I've done more than I was forced to because I'm so interested and motivated for this area. Way better than I have 2 degrees and there are actually 2 courses different from each other. And they just gave me 2 graduate certificates. Not really helpful, right? So think it through why, how much discrepancy you will have, how much overlap there is to transfer. Master thesis, if contentiously matching, could be transferred between study programs. So there are a lot of options, but sometimes it just really not makes sense at all, right? All right, any other questions? I've not seen that page ever. Well, yeah, I mean, that's essentially true. Responsible, there's on the central websites of the university, you will find the right facility for all TuCAN issues. Is it TuCAN at TU Darmstadt? Send an email. I don't know why in your case. So that's a productive system, the course schedule at least. So apparently on my laptop it works. Well, okay, I mean, I'm working here, right? You're just a student. No, really, no idea. A time out, probably something you need to be, but I don't know. I really can't remember that you have to have activated something. Sometimes it's just TuCAN. Anyone else? The same problem? Are you studying IT security? Ah, yeah. It might then be a security measurement on your side hindering TuCAN to work correctly. might actually then be some blocking system on your side probably or something. I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, I don't secure my laptop because it's a working laptop. My computer's at home. My focus was IT security and theoretical computer science. But I don't give a about this one, so probably it's your side. I'm not really sure. Sorry, can't help. Any other questions? Probably drop by in the Students' Council downstairs. Several IT security students been there at the moment. They are probably your fastest help at the moment. Anyone else? Something from the stream? Well done. Good luck. I wish you all the best. Don't get too frustrated. I get back to what I said beginning introducing TuCAN. Probably think about it as some kind of meditation, like drawing mandalas a lot or something like that, right? So keep calm. Thanks for the attention. See you later, hopefully, in the intercultural talk.
Okay, hello. Welcome back. Could we quiet down a little bit? Hello. So now you're going to hear the IT infrastructure talk from Joachim and Marco from the Student Council. And I'm sure it'll be very interesting. So yeah, enjoy.
Thank you. Okay. Hello and welcome to the IT infrastructure at TU Darmstadt, or to be more precise, to the accounts that are available when you are enrolled in TU Darmstadt. You are studying at a technical university, so TU, so everything has to be totally unintuitive, and that's why we have to give you this short talk about the accounts here. First of all, also a hello to our online members of the stream. If you have any questions during the presentation, you can ask them under d120.de/questions or just by scanning the QR code. I hope everyone that is interested has joined the question tool. We will now begin with the actual discussion of the accounts at TU Darmstadt. First of all, we differentiate between two accounts at TU Darmstadt. One is the Hochschulrechenzentrum HRZ account, and it is supposed to be used, or it is used, for the university-wide services such as the Wi-Fi or the VPN. We will get to that soon. And we have a departmental specific HRZ account, which we call the Infrastruktur- und Studentischer Pool Service, the ISP account. This ISP account was formerly known as the RBG Group, the Rechnerbetriebsgruppe, a really German-sounding word, I must say. And why am I telling you this? Well, you should not memorize this, so you can just think, no. You don't have to memorize the RBG acronym. It is just useful for later points in the talk, because some of the ISP things still use the RBG domain within the mails, for example. Yeah, the accounts, both of them are possible to create once you enter into, or once you're enrolled in TU Darmstadt, and they have the same username. That's the TU ID, which you have probably already activated by now, and the schema should be familiar to you already, 2 letters, 2 numbers, and then 4 other letters. Exactly, the username is the same, but the password is not. So if you're ever confused, and don't know why your password isn't working in the ISP account, it is because it is a different password. Think of that and insert it into your password manager, or organize that in a different way. Exactly. For a more complete guide on how to set up those accounts, you can visit d120.de/ec-n. This link will be of great importance during the entire talk, so if you have any questions about setup, first consult this link, please. Starting from January 1st, the HRZ account, so the university-wide account, will require 2-factor authentication. We already recommend you to set this one up, because you don't have to deal with it anymore once it is set up, and then you reap the benefits of not having to deal with it anymore. Yeah, the emails, as already mentioned, you have 2 accounts, and thus you also have 2 emails at university at TU Darmstadt. The first one is the general university mail, which you are probably already familiar with, firstname.lastname@stud.tu-darmstadt.de, and the other one is the ISP mail, which still uses the RBG domain, as you might remember from just a few seconds. And it is structured in a way that it just says tu-id@rbg.informatik.tu-darmstadt.de. The same as before. For any information regarding those accounts, you can just visit this provided link. A very new feature from TU Darmstadt, which you can use, is the so-called TUDa app. And it is used for the digital student ID. Before the app, we were handed out a certain cutout paper passes, This is no longer the case, at least in the default situation. You can request a paper if you want to, but it is not necessary. Yeah, the TUDa app is also bundled with a few features that have been combined over many sides of the university, some of them being a direct integration with the Mensa app. So you have so you can look at the meals that are there for a given day, and also for renting books, for example, at the ULB. The Wi-Fi at TU Darmstadt is like almost any other university that supports it. EduRoam, it supports WPA2 enterprise authentication within TU Darmstadt, and to log in with your Wi-Fi credentials, you have to create them first at the HRZ documentation. More on that at /eduroam at the HRZ website. And it is important to note, this is not your HRZ account. You have to create it once for every device, and you can use at most 3 accounts. Although I must say it could be viable to use one Wi-Fi account for all of your systems, but don't quote me on that. Yeah, actually, it also works on all internationally cooperating institutions. Yeah, a VPN should be quite simple knowledge to you by now. The VPN allows you access to certain websites, for example, some IEEE specifications. I suggest setting it up in case you really need it at one point, and so you don't have to go through the total setup hassle again when you need it on a quick schedule. Yeah, virtual private network, and it just allows the routing to go beyond, go within the university, and it is just useful for some sites like the ULB that require a university connection, so work on it. It has 2 profiles. One is campus. With this option, all of your traffic, your outbound, inbound traffic, will be routed through TU Darmstadt, and the external profile with which you will only forward external or university internal websites through that VPN. At last, you have the Athena card, the Athene Karte as we call it, and it is used for the cashless payment in the canteens and bistros around Darmstadt, which you might have already seen by now. And it is also used for the identification within the ULB if you want to rent something. Quick side note, this identification of the Athena card can also be used within the app, as already mentioned. Exactly. If you want to charge it up with some money, we have some machines within the bistros and mensas to support you with that. And you can also use the bank card as of now. Yeah, the single sign-on, you have probably already encountered this one. This is the central login facility for all of university-specific actions. This one requires your HRZ account, and I don't think there is much more to say to that. So, let's go to further services at TU Darmstadt. First of all, the HRZ-specific ones, so the university-wide one services you can use. We have a share LaTeX, which you can use, an overleaf instance for collaborative LaTeX editor action. We have a GitLab that is hosted by the RWTH Aachen, so don't be scared when you're actually on a RWTH site and you have to sign on with your TUDa mail or with your HRZ account. This is typical, it's just convenience that the RWTH supports. Yeah, the next.hessen box is a very reliable service, as you can already see. No, this picture was just made during a time where it was not as reliable. You right now have an Nextcloud instance with about 30 gigabytes of free storage, and you can use built-in features like sharing if you want to share large files across many students or lecturers or whatever the use case might be in that situation. Exactly, and the TU Darmstadt also provides additional HRZ services such as TuCAN, our beloved TuCAN. TU Moodle, which you might have already encountered as the campus Moodle. We have the Lichtenberg clusters, which are accessible using the HRZ account and the service specification and links. We have a link to, or we have a license for Microsoft Office or the subscription by now, so Microsoft 365. We have a license to Zoom, computer pools that run Windows, and in general rental services. And speaking of TuCAN, I know TuCAN is already quite unreliable and the UI is debatable. So if you want to access it, you can do it almost at any time, but from the 3rd to the 7th of November, TuCAN will be under maintenance and it won't work because it is supposed to not work. So let's get to the facilities at the computer science department, so the specific services offered by us at the FB20. First of all is the C pool. This one you have already seen. It is where your goodie bags came from. And it is just a computer pool in the C0 area of the pilot with about 100 computers, if all of them function at least. And you have an operating system of Linux Mint there and 1 GB of free storage, which you can access via quota-s. It is quite important to note, if you're using, for example, Firefox or any other browser, it is quite possible that your quota will be exceeded in no time because the cache is just getting too big at that point. And you log in using your RSP connections, so these department-specific actions. And in general, there are no foods and drinks allowed except water because we want to keep it as clean as possible. You have also the possibility to print at TU Darmstadt, and for that we have provided you with printers and scanners in the C pool. And to use that, we need your István card number and ISP account information. And you have 2 possibilities to print at that point. You can choose between printing on the actual machines, so being there physically, or printing via the web interface, whichever suits you best. And the quota is you have 50 pages per month. And one good news, you can accumulate those, but only up to 100. So if you don't print for 12 months, you sadly cannot print 600 papers. But you have the possibility to send your stored papers to other students within our department. Yes. If you want further information, you can consult the ISP wiki and their paper cuts. Although I have to mention that the wiki at the ISP sometimes is a bit outdated. So we also have an SSH connection to our departmental computers. And those SSH servers are offered by the ISP at client SSH 1203.rbg.informatik.tu-darmstadt.de. It is sadly not possible to work with password authentication, so you have to set up key authentication. If you have any questions about the setup, once again, consult the wiki or the other links we have provided so far. Exactly. If you need any more information about our departmental information or services, just consult those 2 links. And with that, thank you. We will now get to the questions if there are any. And have fun at TU Darmstadt. Good luck with the infrastructure.
Okay, any questions? Yes. Come again? Pictures? Printers. These ones? Okay, the question was, where are these printers located? They are in the C pool. When you come into the door, they are on the right side, immediately on the right side. Any other questions? Yeah. Will the Athena card be digital at some point? I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think in the next few years. This is just my personal feeling. I don't think, like knowing the processes at TU Darmstadt, that will be digitalized in the next few years. There is another question online. Where can I pick up the Athena card at the university? So I think there are different options of getting the Athena card. You first need to like fill out this online form where you submit a upload of picture and other information. The HRZ has a support center here located on campus, on premises, but during this orientation week it will be very full because everyone will have the idea of getting their Athena card there. So either do it online and get like submit the information that way and get your Athena card that way, or if you like wait a few days and the demand isn't as high anymore, you can get to the HRZ support center, which is in that direction. It's at the old main building, like in the kind of, I don't know, like it's between the library and the old main building. There will be signs for HRZ, and yeah, there's like this support center. Yes. Yeah. Okay. So there was just a remark that it's also possible to go there, and they will take the picture and take the information. Yeah. So that's also possible as an alternative to submitting the stuff online. Yeah. Yeah. Where do you find what? Sorry. Where do you need to go? Okay, where this support center is for the HRZ? Okay, I can maybe show it. Yes, so like I don't know the exact room number, but the building is S102. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, it will be it's like it's listed on Google Maps. It's like in this direction. When you know the large clear area in front of the library, where there's like the Lesbar at the one end, and at the other end, opposite of this like small, I don't know what you call it, like some small courtyard. Yes, exactly. There is the support center for the HRZ in the like lower floor. Any other question? There are more questions online. Is it necessary to check both mail addresses, or is it sufficient to use the HRZ email only? Yeah, so for the most part, the HRZ email is the main email. So the first name dot last name at stud.tu-darmstadt.de. This is your main email address. And the other email address, it's basically not necessary. And it was previously used for sending out department-specific emails, like department-specific announcements, like, okay, we have a new professor, or like, we have a new summer party or something. This used to be sent over this email address, but not anymore, as we have a central system which uses TuCAN to send the emails. And yeah, so basically the other email, this RBG email, is not necessary anymore. Yeah, but it's still there. I think you can still activate it. So yeah. Another question. So also for picking it up, I need to go to the support center. Yes, if you want to pick up your Athena card and they say you need to pick it up at the support center, then yeah. And you need to pick it up at the HRZ. Any other question? No? Okay. There's someone online. Can the VPN only on Windows only be used with Cisco, or can you use the Windows native VPN? As far as I know, you need to use the Cisco AnyCollect client on Windows, because this is a proprietary Cisco protocol. It's like not IPsec or like WireGuard or something. On macOS, there's also a client for this Cisco. I recommend personally to not use this client because it just messes up your entire network stack. What I use is OpenConnect, which is also something you can use on Linux. So on Linux, you can Linux and macOS. I would recommend you get the program called OpenConnect, and on I think some Linux distributions, it should also already be built in, if I remember correctly. But on macOS, it's not built in. We need to download either Cisco, the Cisco client, or OpenConnect. Okay, any other questions? Okay, I don't see any more. In that case, we'll have a short break and we'll continue at noon with more talks by the different departments on different areas, different research areas we do here at the Computer Science Department. Stay tuned for that, and yeah, see you in about 6 minutes.
our goal is to make data centers and clouds more efficient when we're processing large amounts of data. So unless you've been living under a rock, I guess you heard of things like large language models and how a lot of different types of data have to be prepared and transformed to get fed into them. So that's one type of data intensive system that we look at. But there's also the bread and butter of traditional data management, so databases, Oracle, SAP, Microsoft, what they're offering. They're also the target of our work. And what we do is actually we do research across typical areas of computer science. So we look into combining techniques and extending techniques in databases, in AI for database and databases for AI, in distributed systems, specialized hardware, privacy, security. So I've been asked to talk about a little bit what happens in the department, in our group, and also in the department in terms of networking and distributed systems. So I focus on these topics in this talk. But in general, we are very interested in hiring motivated Heavies. So this is basically, if you're very new to the system, that these are working students where you get paid by the hour next to your studies, and then later on the typical research path is then to do a PhD. We're also hiring always there, looking for the best and brightest. So to give you a little bit of context for this talk, what a lot of our research focuses on is the cloud. And at some point, the cloud started out as this very cost-effective way of putting a commodity hardware, and commodity means slow and boring and gray, into large data centers, but then it grew into its own thing. So these days, clouds have really taken over, and they have two purposes, so to say. So they serve user workloads, where the cloud providers are working very hard in basically milking their infrastructure, selling the resources they have to users in a way that they can make most profit out of it, run it as efficiently as possible. But then also clouds have become their own workload, which means that cloud providers run their own applications. Think of your Google Drive, or think of basically any kind of a web service that you're using from the large cloud providers. So these are also services that they try to optimize. What happens in academia and industry, we are basically hard at work of making these systems, which usually involve a lot of data, high volumes of data, and complex computation. We try to make them more efficient. So this is maybe also like a side note that even if you're not interested in research, but you're looking for an industry job, I think this is the area where still ChatGPT does not have a chance. So if you actually study systems topics, so systems broadly, things related to distributed systems, operating systems, networking, computer hardware, and then parts of databases. So if you study these topics, I think you still have a good chance of getting a job. Some of the other fields, I'm not sure. But okay, I guess I should start on a more positive note for your beginning of your master's. So one of the challenges, just to give you an idea of what interesting problems are there in the cloud and why this is not a solved problem, we have one fundamental challenge is that if we want to share resources efficiently, then this typical thinking about computers as boxes where I have some number of CPUs and some amount of RAM and some amount of storage is not ideal. Because if an application needs a combination of these resources which are more CPUs than what fits in a box but less disk than what two boxes offer, then you basically waste resources. So that's dollars or euros going to heaven, basically, because you reserve those resources but then don't really use them for anything. So what happens, I'm just skipping some slides for you, but you can basically show this very nicely for CPU and networking and storage as well. What happens is nowadays clouds have moved to a disaggregated architecture, which means that through techniques of physical and logical disaggregation, they basically break these boundaries of boxes. So you have now, you can think of it as you have a big pool of compute resources, a big pool of memory, and a big pool of storage that you can access or combine in a way that fits your application. So if you heard of terms of microservices or serverless, these are, for instance, software paradigms that allow you to break these boundaries of boxes. So this is generally good. You have better provisioning and scalability, but what is interesting from a perspective of systems is that now you can think of any application that you build on top of disaggregated architectures becomes a distributed application. Data movement becomes an important part of the application behavior. You have to basically think of how much bandwidth do I have between CPU and storage. How can I place things in a way that they're efficient? And maybe you heard of these things in your bachelor. Networking is generally getting faster. So this is a figure which just shows how over the years we're getting now basically standards already for 400G networking. 100 gigabit is already common in the cloud. The problem is that this is, at the same time, we are facing a reality where CPUs are basically stagnating in performance. So we have a little bit of an issue that even though we could move more data over the network faster for these disaggregated architectures, because CPUs are not getting faster, we have no free lunch. So we have to work harder for making this disaggregated architecture still operate efficiently. So what we do in our group is we look at basically ways to specialize the computation or the system to the network devices. So think of it as like we change systems so they operate efficiently or like distributed native. But you can also think of, we are looking from the other layer, which is how we can change the networking hardware. For instance, make network interface cards have some kind of compute capabilities that help the application on top. Okay? So this is what we do in one part of the research in the group. And again, one big part of it is redesigning databases or data-intensive systems for RDMA. And another big part is offloading processing to the network infrastructure. And then just to, hopefully blow your mind, okay, maybe it's the bar is very, this is, I need more to blow your minds, but like, okay, what is interesting is in our work, we also combine then this with compute accelerators. So we look all the way from, computation through the infrastructure and distribution of things. So maybe just on a side note, what is very, very interesting these days is that specialization is everywhere. You have accelerators like TPUs for machine learning workloads. You have fast and programmable networking, smart drives, motherboards with chips for security reasons. You have more capable interconnects. And what we look in our group is basically combining ideas of knowledge about software and hardware to make things more efficient. Just to give you some ideas of what we do, some recent papers or projects. So we're looking at how network switches can make large-scale data shuffling. So data shuffling is an operation that you need to do for many kind of data pre-processing tasks in machine learning. How we can make this more efficient. We're looking at replacing or understanding what are the trade-offs of replacing general-purpose servers, which are used now for storage services with fully specialized hardware. And even exploring things like how we can, for instance, provide privacy and security of some operations without reducing the performance of the systems, all through specialized hardware. So if now, at some point, you feel like, okay, this professor is talking about specialized hardware and like in-network processing and smart NICs and stuff like this, and I have no idea what it is, then I invite you to join our courses. So there's SDMS, which runs now in this semester, and this is about scalable databases. It also touches on many of the cloud subjects I just mentioned, and the other course is on systems level, like revisiting computer architecture and the modern hardware stack from a systems perspective. With this, I'm basically done with my lightning talk. I wanted to give you a taste of what we do in our group. And just maybe as a last note, so I think what is really nice in our department is that there's many different groups with very strong people. So if I look in the networking or this space, I also invite you to check out the group which is called Secure Mobile Networking, led by Professor Matthias Hollig. So they look a lot of networking from the security perspective. From what I hear, they're hacking iPhones. So that might be interesting for some of you. And there's also the Network Embedded Systems Lab, led by Professor Marco Zimmerling. And they are looking into networking beyond the data center. So I really talked about the importance of the cloud and the data center, but there's also life beyond that. There's sensors and IoT and smart devices that are connected. They do very like interesting things like battery-less networking. So how I can build networks across devices that don't even have batteries. So with this, I'm done. I'm open for questions. If you're interested in opportunities in the group or our teaching, then please go to the website. Generally, Carsten and me are also happy to answer other questions if you're looking for a master thesis, or if you're even just thinking of what lectures you should take to get towards the right master thesis. In our limited bandwidth, we're happy to answer. So you cannot go wrong by sending us an email. Welcome. I'm happy to see all the new faces at TU Darmstadt. And with that, I stop talking and let you ask questions if you have any for me. Thank you. Yes? If there's a qualification needed to be hired as a Hiwi. So usually the Hiwi, so to do a Hiwi job, it's in the context of some project that we have, right? Or some research direction that we have. Of course, we do this in a way that, we cut off a piece which we know, okay, is doable with the expertise you already have. However, I would say it's generally a good idea to attend some of our lectures just to make sure that you're up to date with the type of know-how we require. So that's why I put like a single out SDMS and FOMO, which are running in this semester, so you can still enroll and get started on Monday for FOMO and I believe Tuesday for SDMS. So I think after you take the lectures, that's, for instance, a very good time to then reach out if you do well and you feel like this is something that, the projects that I do, I enjoy doing this kind of work. I kick ass at it. Then that's a good way in, I think, for a Hiwi. So, but there's no formal. I don't think we'll connect like ask your high school how you did or something like this. So it's. You will find this also later when you look for master theses, and so I think a lot is based on basically figuring out already what are the kind of topics that you enjoy doing, and where you can also convince a professor that you have a good, like you have kind of good grades or you've done well in the projects or lectures related to it to get accepted. Yep. Whether there's a possibility of publishing a paper, of course. I mean, we would love that you publish a paper. I think usually papers in our field, so yes, please come and publish a paper as a Hiwi. We would be happy for that, but usually it's a longer process. But we definitely, encourage it. And if you say you're looking for a research career, so some people know already early on that they might want to go towards a PhD, then Hiwi and then the master thesis is usually the best way to get, hit the ground running, so to say, with a research career. But even if you're looking for industry, I think working with us is not a bad idea because our graduates go basically to large cloud companies and database companies, again, who are these days still hiring. So I think these systems topics are actually a good way to, to get a footing then later in an interesting job. I'm looking at the clock. I will stand here until they kick me out, so I'm happy to answer questions.
If anyone in the live stream wants to ask a question, you can go to d120.de/questions, and otherwise.
Good. Then I thank you for your time. I was happy to be here. Again, for those of you who are really entirely new in Darmstadt and the German system, hi, nice to see you here. And hopefully we'll see you in various lectures throughout the semesters. Good, thank you.
Is this working? Oh, yes. Ooh. Let me know when the stream. Okay, then. Okay, then without further ado, we can talk about the other two focus areas of computer science. So we had complex network systems. Now we'll take a look at IT security, and then we'll take a look at the last one of the focus areas, which is AI and machine learning. So IT security has a lot of connections with the other two areas as well. And maybe you've already seen this in the talk we saw earlier. This complex network systems had some connections to AI/ML, which was mentioned in the first couple of slides, and also some connections to security and privacy. And this is also the same with IT security here at TU Darmstadt. And this is also what I want to show based on a kind of an example of some kind of research we did, and also a paper we submitted and was accepted. And yeah, I'll use that as an example of how interdisciplinary or like how connected the research in IT security is, and hopefully to give a small bit of motivation in this area. Okay, who here has heard of OpenSSL? Raise your hand. Who knows what OpenSSL is? Okay, a lot of people. Nice. OpenSSL is probably the most popular crypto library, open source crypto library. And this is one excerpt of the code we have in OpenSSL. It's used for AES encryption. And what we can see here is a long array of constants in our program code. And in the encryption, we look up in this array in a specific index, and we use that in the further calculations. And why is that important? Because why do we do this at all for AES encryption? Because it's faster. So normally, if you maybe have a bit of background in AES encryption, it has this kind of S box, like the substitution box, and basically what you do is each byte gets mapped to another byte, but when you when you want to compute which byte results from one byte, it's not that fast. And what practice has told us is that it's way faster to just have this pre-computed at compile time, and then just look up from each byte to the next byte what the result should be. Of course, in modern CPUs, in desktop CPUs, server CPUs, we have special instructions for AES acceleration. But some chips don't. For example, embedded systems or small low-power CPUs. So they will use this code. And this code has an issue. This is straight from OpenSSL, and it has an issue. It has a vulnerability. And this vulnerability has something to do with caches. So if you remember your fundamentals of computer architecture lectures somewhere in the back of your mind around caches, so memory is divided into specific cache lines, they're so-called, and this is a simplified version. Normally they're 64 bytes wide in modern processors. The first line I have here is not 64 bytes, I think. But this is just a simplified version, so bear in mind with it here. So the memory is divided into specific cache lines, and every time you access a byte in memory, this cache line will be loaded into your CPU cache. Not that just one byte, the whole cache line will be loaded. And then if you access the next cache line in memory, that will be loaded to another cache line in the CPU. So each cache line in the memory is always mapped to one specific area in their cache, so that they don't overlap. So the next one, the second line here, this will be loaded into a different cache line in the CPU. They will never be loaded into the same cache line in the CPU. What consequences does this have? The consequence of this is that if we, remember the code we had before, where we want to encrypt something with AES, and we have some kind of key, which is like in this S0 stuff and S1. You don't need to know the specifics here, but essentially this S0, S1, these are the stuff we want to protect. This, with the AES encryption algorithm, these plain text and the keys, they will be mashed up with the substitution box and some other ciphertext stuff, and they will be protected during this algorithm. But at the beginning, we will be using these, at the beginning, this S0 and S1, these are plain. These are just the plain text, and these are the key we use. So this is stuff we want to protect. This is stuff we don't want to leak to anyone else. But if we index into this array, for example, with the index 2, like we access the index 2 of this TE0 array, remember how memory works. We always load the whole cache line into the CPU cache. And once you've loaded the whole CPU cache line into the CPU cache, the CPU won't just throw it away because maybe it will be used later on. That's the whole point of the cache. So this cache line I've now highlighted in red here, this will be present in your CPU cache. And an attacker can use this information, or it can first get this information of which cache line is loaded by just probing different memory addresses. And memory accesses that are fast, it will know, oop, that might be in the cache line. Memory accesses that are slow, these are memory accesses that were probably not in the cache, and thus took longer to load because it still had to fetch from main memory, which takes longer. And this is an issue, because if the attacker can know that the first cache line was loaded into memory, it knows some information. It knows that the index we accessed was either 0, 1, 2, or 3. This is already a leakage. This might be, okay, we might say, okay, this is there's still 4 options. But the security of AES is that you don't get a single bit of information. This is more than a single bit of information. So this is already enough to break the security of AES to eventually recover the key or other nefarious stuff that's possible here. So the default implementation of OpenSSL, still to this day, when you look at the source code, I just copied the source code from GitHub yesterday. Still, to this day, the implementation of OpenSSL has this issue. It has cache side channel vulnerabilities. And there are different solutions we already proposed. So for example, in modern CPUs, these new AES instructions, they are presumed to be not vulnerable. So they are presumed to be protected against cache side channels. Or some other solutions, which are kind of a brute force solution, is to just get this whole code, the whole encryption code, and translate everything there, remove all the lookup tables, remove all the arrays, and translate everything into just like Boolean circuits, so that every single bit of the input is then like you have some AND gates and some XOR gates and maybe some OR gates, and then every single bit will be computed using this. This was proposed, and this is also possible, but it of course has a very large overhead. It protects against this side channel, but it has a lot of overhead. So, what is the solution? I just spoiled it. The solution is to shrink the lookup table, so that the whole lookup table fits into one single cache line. This way, you can't derive the index of which index you access. You know it's 0, 1, 2, or 3, but that's everything that's in the array. The array is only 4. Okay, I should have changed the 256 to 4, but yes, the array is only 4 wide, so you don't know any information about the index that was accessed. But changing the source code of OpenSSL to only use the smaller lookup tables, yeah, have fun doing this manually. This is going to be a very tedious task, and you'll probably make some errors. And if you have a different cache architecture that has smaller cache lines, oops, it's vulnerable again. So this is not a very good solution. So a solution we proposed was kind of a mixture between this manual stuff and this Boolean circuits idea from earlier. What instead we do is we generate, we compile this C source code with these lookup tables automatically to these lookup tables, and just similar brute force approach using Boolean circuits, but packed into lookup tables. I'll show you what I mean right now. So this is code that is automatically generated. So now the lookup table has this is like in memory, is aligned to specific alignment, so that it will always be like in the specific cache lines. And now the lookup table contents are also predetermined, and like everything here done is automatic, so it's like not very readable code. But now the good thing we have is this is guaranteed to be like these lookup tables won't be as large anymore, and they're guaranteed to be small enough to fit into each cache line. And how do we generate this automatic code? We have a specific, maybe like kind of convoluted compilation pipeline. So what we do is we use tools from several disciplines here. We use so-called high-level synthesis. Maybe you've heard this in like some Digitaltechnik or like some course where you've compiled hardware description languages. So we compile the C code to Verilog. This is some hardware description language. We compile this Verilog down to Boolean circuits in a custom format called SHDL, and then we compile that back to C code. And using this, we can just brute force basically say, okay, this is our AES encryption function, and then the whole function will be compiled to lookup tables with a fitting cache size automatically. And compared to previous works, this is also much faster. So first of all, like compared to like just the normal vulnerable approach, of course, it's also faster, about an order of magnitude. But when we compare it to previous works, we have a large speed up. I haven't included this slide here for the time constraints, but yeah, trust me on that. You can already see like this approach will be faster than just running Boolean circuits with every gate in, yeah. And now we can also use formal methods to statically analyze the binary and analyze how much is this leakage, how much bytes or bits will this leak. And we can see the original versions of these functions leak a lot. We have proposed two approaches, one which is faster, like the seculet8, which is faster and leaks basically way less than the original version, but we also have this completely secure version where everything fits into cache line, and there we leak nothing. So we have basically made this trade-off between this brute force approach and the manual, and it works. So I already alluded to this in this kind of case story here. IT security is interdisciplinary, so this was a work in collaboration with MICE, who contributed the cache side channel analysis and this formal system for analyzing the leakage. But in general, IT security is a very interdisciplinary research. We have multiple groups working in this field. For example, I come from Encrypto, and in our building we also have people from PSEC who are searching for peace and security, a combination of that. We have System Security Lab, we have ZEMO, which are who do like wireless networks security. We have Chair of Applied Cryptography, who do stuff in blockchain as well. We have Cryptoplexity, who do like some more fundamentals and like foundations. Implementation security, which also is connected to the side channel stuff, so a lot of areas are connected here. This is also reflected in the sort of collaborations we have. So this was also like the work I just showed you was a collaboration within Crossing, and we have also other collaborations with startups and in general, like also with industry and with CAST and with other universities, with the Deutsche Forschungsgemeinschaft. And we also have cool programs for people interested in IT security. One I want to really highlight is the Female Student Travel Award, which gives like travel stipends for female students who want to work on a specific research topic and are then granted money for attending conferences or other stuff. And for the immediate future for you, we have different lectures you can attend, different seminars as well, and project labs, which are also all in this interdisciplinary field. There are some basics like IT security and introduction to cryptography, and then more advanced stuff like blockchain technology, cryptographic protocols. Yeah, you can read it all here. And also check out the list in TuCAN, because like some of them are only available in some semesters, like either winter or summer. Yeah, do check out the stuff we offer. And of course, all of these groups I mentioned earlier, they also have Hiwi positions, they have seminars, they have labs, and also, of course, thesis topics. And on the specific websites, they will list their researchers and also the areas they all work on. And just contact us if you're interested in anything in research or theses or yeah, anything in that area. Okay. Then, any questions? Maybe online questions? Okay. Then thanks, and let's go to AI/ML.
Test. Perfect. Yeah, perfect. So yeah, hi, my name is Jannis, and I will now introduce a little bit of my research. The last two talks were a little bit high level, then very, I would say, low level. Now we talk a little bit more about what we can do in research, and this is specifically a subfield of my research. So my question is a little bit about pixels, and for this we often go back to the basics, namely Atari games. And I want to show you two agents here. They are currently learning the games. They are not perfect yet, but they will be better than any human we have in playing these games, reaching levels we sometimes can reach, but often are not able to reach. And this is very interesting, in my opinion, because in the last years we saw more and more of this. We saw AI beating Go, chess, and many, many more games. And my question would be, okay, how intelligent are these agents actually? So we made a little test in my research. Left, we have the original game, the original Pong game. I hope you all know Pong. Perfect. And we reached best score possible, 21 points. And now we said, okay, we will remove the enemy from the game, or so to say, we remove to see the enemy. So we hide the enemy, and the agent is no longer able to see it. And my question would be to you, would you think the agent is still able to play the game? Anyone? I see some yes, I see a little bit no. There's, I think, yeah, both, a mixture. And I give the second question, okay, would you say the agent is able to play the game if I show him the enemy, but instead hide the ball? Do you think the ball is necessary to play the game? More yes. Perfect. And now to the results. The agent cannot play without seeing the enemy, but it can play without seeing the ball. And we were, huh? It's like tennis. You need to see the ball to play the game, right? And what we found out in our research is that the agent actually don't need the ball, because what it is doing is it looks at the enemy paddle, and he learned, okay, the paddle is mostly on the same height as the ball. So following the paddle gives me the position of the ball. So why should I look at the ball when I can show or look at the enemy paddle? And this was very surprising for us, and surprising for a lot of my research colleagues, because they said, okay, it's Pong, everyone can solve this. And we showed that this was not the case. So the first reaction of the complete crowd was, you made a mistake, right? Right? So we tested this, and what we showed is that we did not make a mistake. But first, what is happening? So normally, if we train an agent to play these games, we have a black box model, so a neural network, for example, in the middle. And we ask, hey, this is the game state. This is an image of it. Can you give me an action I should do? Go down, go up, whatever. Shoot, dodge, pick up, depend on the game. And the problem here is that we have no idea what this model is doing. We can ask, okay, what should I do? And it says down. And now I look at the image and see, okay, the ball is towards me, so upwards. So I should go up, right? And now I ask the model, okay, why are you going down? And he says, here are 20,000 parameters in numbers. Figure it out yourself. So these models are not really interpretable or explainable to us. They don't explain their decision to us in a way we can understand it. And that's a huge problem if we talk about trusting an AI, doing decisions like driving a car. And that's why we try more and more in the last years to get more explainable AI to work. So AI that we can understand, where we can see what the decision process is. In our work, we showed that agents are prone to shortcut learning. What we mean is they learn something like a correlation, like, okay, I follow the enemy paddle because it's easier. Or I learn, if you saw this freeway game where you have to cross the street, I don't need to know where the cars are. I need one pixel, and if this pixel changes color, I can go. Which means if the cars are not moving anymore, they will never go because the pixel is never changing color. So to say it a little bit provocative, the agent is only able to cross the street if there is a danger of being driven over by a car. If the car is standing still, they are not able to cross the street anymore. This is not a behavior we want to see in our agents. So first message, these reinforcement learning agents often learn to behavior based on decisions we don't understand, but often we don't care. My point is we want to care because we want to understand the behavior to make it trustworthy. So back to the question, you made a mistake, right? Right? So we said, okay, we tested not with one game, but we have 20 games, and we have, I'd say, 20 agent types, from the basic one from 10 years ago to the current state-of-the-art approaches. And we showed that all of these agents, some more than others, but all of these agents are failing in our simplifications. We tested these by letting the car stand still, or changing the background color of a game, like here in boxing, or even, if you can see it, we changed the color from the paddle from red to red, and it was enough, so the agent is not able to play the game anymore. Of course, this is behavior we don't want to see in our agents. You see on the bottom always the papers we published or are currently publishing, and you see that there are two names which are underlined. These are students of mine which helped writing these papers because I'm a huge fan of integrating you into my research and giving you the chance to write papers with us, because it is helpful if you want to stay in academia. Yeah, we showed that basically humans are far, far better in understanding an environment and dealing with these simplifications, as the agents is not able to do that. So what is the solution? And there are a lot of possible solutions, and I want to talk a little bit about my research, how I see one solution, which we call object centricity. And for this, we can shortly revise how reinforcement learning is working, because this is all reinforcement learning. We have the agent, so the AI. The AI is doing an action, we don't know why, but it says go down. Then we go down, and then we see what is happening in the game. So we see a new state, so a new image of the game. And sometimes we get a reward like you made a point or you lose a point. So this is basically reinforcement learning. And this we do a lot, 10 million times, 20 million times, and this is done to learn the game. And what we now do is humans, if we want to play a game or understand a game, we don't look at the background color. We don't care if the background color is gray, white, or black. What we look are, which objects do we have? What is the meaning or concepts behind these objects? So can I control the objects? Am I the player? And we have something called world knowledge, like, okay, I'm a skier, there is a tree. I think nobody of you will think, oh, let's drive into the tree when I'm skiing. So we have this knowledge the agents don't have. But what we often do is we abstract scenes. So we don't care if the tree is orange, green, if the flags are blue or white, or if the player is this pixel sprite or a different pixel sprite. So what we now do is we want to do the same with agents. Instead of looking at the image, as it is done for the last 20 years, we thought, okay, maybe we can abstract it away. We only give bounding boxes in colors or some form of representation that is easier for us to understand, inspired by us humans. And in this work, we did exactly that. We see there on the top, these are representations we had for the same scene. The first one, called A, this is what we are doing in the last 15 years. Everyone is doing it. It's the gold standard. Everyone just simply follow this for the last 20 years or 15 years. And we propose now more variety in these representations. And we showed that these variations of input representations help us to make better agents, but for overall we make for robust agents. So we are more robust against changes like removing the enemy paddle or making the tree now not orange, but let's make the tree to a wall. So when changing the abstract concept of a tree to something different, when normal agents fail, we can make them robust against these changes. And going a little bit further, what can we do with these objects? We showed a little bit here. Is if we remember the black box, where we say, okay, this agent just gives us down, and we don't know why. Here's what we can do with objects. We defined, based on objects, a set of rules, like, okay, is my enemy close to me? This is something I can say because I know objects. Without the objects, I cannot do this type of relationships. Is a diver available to me? Is my oxygen low? Or is everything I have to do collected? These are rules for this game. We don't have to understand the game yet. But what we now see is we see, okay, he decides to fight an enemy because there is an enemy close by and because there is a diver available to me. In the second case, the same two rules are here, but he decides to rescue the diver because the diver is closer to him. And these rules basically gives us an understanding or a little bit of understanding. It's not perfect yet. We are not done yet. But this alone helps us to understand more what an agent is doing. So basically, the take-home message for me, and this is basically also the end of the technical part of this talk, is representations drives behavior. So we want to change the representations because we think by changing representations, we can change how agents behave. We think pixels alone are not enough. The gold standard from 10 years ago is good, it's working, but it shouldn't be the end. We should think about it. We should think how to make it better, maybe change it completely and propose something new. And this is also the main message here. Keep asking. And this is much more important in your studies as you think. The professors in front of you, or maybe we make mistakes. We write something wrong on the blackboard. We make something wrong in our slides. We maybe even are sure that something is correct. But if you have a better idea or have an idea at all, don't stand still. Don't accept that we say it like this. You are most likely, if you stay in academia, the next researchers, and you will drive research forward. So keep that in mind when you think about it. We, as all humans, make mistakes, and AI will also make a lot of mistakes. So, yeah, quite shortly. In Darmstadt, we have now in Darmstadt, and I started here to study 10 years ago. We had one professor for AI, and this was everything in AI was basically dead. Since then, in the last 10 years, we got 19 more professors, actually 20 because the one professor we had left, but 20 new professors. We got over 150 PhDs or postdocs currently here at Darmstadt doing AI research in large labs like my lab, or in smaller labs like the lab from Konstantin Rotkopf doing cognitive science. AI is one of the three pillars in Darmstadt nowadays. We have the communication networks, we have the AI security, and the third one is AI research nowadays. So if you want to do research in AI, you're right, Darmstadt is great for you. We have a lot of stuff to do. We have AI in a lot of fields. You had Professor István earlier here. He's doing also something about AI and how we use hardware in AI, or how we can make specific hardware for AI. We have software engineering, we have natural language processing, we have everything you can imagine. And if not, we will have a professor for it quite now, because there are more coming. We have a lot of lectures we offer to you. These are only some, because every year there are more, and every year there are more professors. The point I want to do is, you can do AI here, but you can also keep away from it. If you don't like AI, ignore what I said, go to, for example, the IT security. However, also in the IT security parts, write papers about AI, because AI nowadays is unfortunately everywhere. So, bad for you. For you, I have two things I want to show a little bit. We do a practical lab from now to then, basically next semester, for example, or this semester. And I wanted to show that we can also do, or you can already do something like this. So if you see my research, see that we do a lot of Atari games and think Atari games are dead, I have to say sorry, because Atari is one of the benchmarks in AI research. It is basically the most cited one, the most used one. And we figured out there is a huge problem, because these Atari games are slow. If we train on these games, we take days of training time, because these are emulated, and we use the original ROMs from the company called Atari. So what we are currently doing in one of our labs with our students is to rewrite all Atari games in a JAX way, which means we can run these games in the GPU, makes it quite fast, makes it parallel, and instead of waiting days for our research results, we wait 12 to 20 minutes for the same results. And this will be a paper, most likely, with all of our students on it. So if you want to look into that, there are these practical labs. I also offer thesis. Here's one example. I don't want to go into that into detail because time, and you maybe have some questions. But if you want to have a thesis with us, just come to us, talk to us. That's the best way to get in touch with us. Yeah, lastly, my lab is the AI and ML lab. This is only one of these huge groups doing AI. If you have anything you want to talk about, just come by. We have offices in the main building. Also, we have some offices here in this building. Talk to us. We are open for this. And yeah, that's basically the end, I think. So yeah, if you have any questions about research, about AI, also about Darmstadt, because I've somehow been here for more than 10 years now. Don't know why, but it's, yeah, studying, then PhD, yeah. So if you have anything you want to know, feel free to ask. If not, I think it's now lunchtime, if I correctly. So there are some stuff from the organizers, so I will just go and give it to the organizers. Ah, there's an online question, sorry. You have to wait a little bit, yeah. Okay, so the question was, to repeat it, is reinforcement learning the only thing we are doing? And no, as you see in this slide, reinforcement learning is not even on this slide, because it's a very small part in my group and also a very small part at the university. We have, of course, groups doing more reinforcement learning, like the robotics groups. Jan Peters, for example, and the EIS is doing a lot of reinforcement learning on robots. In my lab, we are more about the theoretical stuff. So we talk a lot about trustworthiness, about neurosymbolics, which is like, for example, the objects and symbols. We do causal AI or causality in AI, and lifelong learning. So these are a lot of fields. We do deep reinforcement learning. Like I said, we have 20 professors. I don't think we have anything we don't have at this lab. And for the near future, this was the second part of the question, AI is growing. It's growing in Darmstadt. We have the Hessen AI, which is a center for AI research in Hessen. We have the DFKI. We have a lot of project partners, and we will get more professors in the next years. I think currently there are 3 open positions for AI profs at our lab, at our department. So the goal is to grow into, I think that's the goal of the university, not mine, to be the point in Germany if you want to do AI stuff. So yeah, let's see what the next 2 years will bring, and hopefully you will see it. So yeah, I think now it's lunchtime. Perfect. Then be back here at 2 in this room. In this room. In 1 hour, sorry. Yeah. Perfect, good. Then see you around.